Come to the place where abundant lives abide. Come to the place where you will find new life.
God bless each and every one of you today. Now, let's look at, let's go back. We're out of Daniel. Daniel has led us to the book of the Revelation. And so here we're going to go now to spend some time in the book of the Revelation, the Apocalypse, the last book of the Bible. And we looked at chapter, I think the last time we were together, we did look at chapter 11, did we not? Yes. We looked at chapter 11, verses 1 and 2, which really brought us back to, we were dealing, you remember we were dealing with the Daniel's last week. Now all of Daniel's weeks or years have been fulfilled. So 483 years or 69 weeks of Daniel's. Each week is a year. Each year is weeks. So when Daniel talked about weeks, every time he says weeks, that's what, class? A what? A year. So we looked at beginning at the time that Daniel was in Babylon to the time of the Messiah. All that time period ended up being 483 weeks. But he talked about 70 weeks, and 70 weeks would be 490 years. So we're still waiting for Daniel's 70th week, which is the week of the tribulation. When you deal with God, you cannot take the calendar on your wall, or you cannot take the watch on your arm. This is called chronos. We get your watch is a chronometer. It tells time, it keeps time, and I understand that somewhere in the world there is a place called Greenwich Mean Time, and the time in the whole world is set by this clock in Greenwich. But listen, you can't, and that's where we get in trouble. If we try to set anything by a watch or a calendar of man. There are two words for time in the scripture. One is chronos, which means it's 11 o'clock, it was 10 o'clock, it will be 2 o'clock, and so forth and so on. And kairos. Kairos is God's time. Kairos is the time that you cannot put a watch to. So think about it. Daniel's prophecy came right up to the death of Christ. And then 69 weeks stopped all of a sudden. And for the last 21 centuries, we still haven't entered into what? The 70th week. Now the scripture says a day with the Lord is what? As now don't say it is 1,000 years. The key word is as. So in other words, 1,000 years could pass, and with God it was as if it were one day. One day. So it stopped with Daniel, with Jesus. And then from that day until this one, we have been in the 69th week. And when the tribulation begins, it will be a 7-year period, but that will be Daniel's what? 70th week. So what we're waiting for, and I know I shouldn't say it like that, what we're expecting is the coming of the Lord, followed by the beginning of the tribulation. And the tribulation will clearly be split up into two separate time periods. 3.5 years. The first 3.5 years, things are not going to seem that bad. This Antichrist will be very charismatic, very appealing. He will come on the scene. He will make a covenant with Israel. Things will look like the whole world has finally come to peace and harmony. Isn't that what the world is looking for? Peace and harmony. In 1914, World War I broke out. And then Woodrow Wilson tried to keep us out of World War I. We could not get involved in it, and we ended up in World War I. He tried to get the United States to join something called the League of Nations, and they would not. Do you know World War I was the war that was to end all wars? And less than 20 years later, we were in World War II. And we finally approved what was called the United Nations. And sometimes I don't know what good they are, but that's not what I'm talking about. So right now, look at how tedious things are right now. Now we talk about weapons of mass destruction, but the United States is the only nation to ever use an atomic bomb. No one else has ever used one. So here we are. We're hoping that Iran is serious about not building a nuclear weapon. We have been out of communication with Iran for 30-some years, since 1979. And we're hoping that that is thawing. That would give a little lessening of tension. There's a civil war in Syria that threatens to spread into the Middle East, which is a very hot spot and dangerous place, which is where history will end, by the way. There's unrest in Egypt that can spread to other places and cause yet more problems. Just yesterday, they think that North Korea once again started their nuclear reactor. Here we go. You just can't seem to get the peace, can we? But when the Antichrist comes, it will seem like all is well. And there will be a collective sigh in the earth that people will say, finally one peace, one government, one leader, one currency, one religion, all is well. And that will only last 3.5 years. At that time, he will show his true self, and all hell will literally break loose. So that's why the Bible talks about 3.5 years, or as Daniel said, times, and half a time, or 1,260 years. All of that's the same thing. Now let's look, and if you look at it, look at the end of chapter 11, the end of verse 2, he says, and they will tread underfoot the holy city for 42 months. That goes back to that 3.5 years. All right, let's go to chapter 12. And a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. Now, you know, we believe here at Life Center in what's called the historical grammatical method of interpretation. That simply means whatever you read, try your best to interpret it in the normal usage of a word. So in other words, if the Bible says a bridge, what does it mean? A bridge. If the Bible said it was night, what does it mean? It's dark outside. That's the normal usage of the word. But when you see something like this, obviously this is not what that means. So there are times in the Bible when the historical grammatical method does not work. So here, obviously, a woman cannot clothe herself with the what? And stand on the what? Obviously. But here we have a picture of her glory, her magnificence, the two greatest bodies in the heaven. But the key is to the end of the verse, to her identity is this: on her head a crown of what, class? 12 stars. Now why should that catch our attention? How many tribes were there in Israel? 12. All right, so let's see. This is going to give us a clue to who this is. And she was with child and cried out, being in labor and in pain, to give birth. And another sign appeared in the heaven. Behold, a great red dragon. Does anybody have a clue who that is? Satan. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. This great red dragon was the devil. What did he have? 7 heads and what? 10. Those represent the what? The nations aligned with who? The devil. The nations lined up with the devil. Remember, class, the tribulation is a very interesting time. It is the time in human history when Satan will attempt to do what he has always wanted to do, and that is rule the world. That is Satan's great desire. What did the devil say to Jesus in Matthew chapter 4? I'll give you all the what? Kingdoms of the what? World. If you do what? And worship me. And 2 things Satan wants. And we get thinking Satan wants us to sin. I keep telling you, we do that on our own. I don't need Satan to make me sin. I got that. I got that. Satan can go to Africa. I'm going to mess up. Satan can go to the moon and stay 3 years. I bet you I won't live any holier. When a man is tempted, he's drawn away of his own lust and enticed. The nature of sin is in me. David said, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin my mother conceived me. Now we said the phrase born in sin. That's not what he said. He went all the way back to conception. My God. He said, I was conceived in sin. When the sperm and the egg and my father and mother met, there were all the DNA for me to be a black male child with brown eyes and whatever else I have or don't have. And there was another element there. Right in my DNA was sin. And so so I had it in the womb. And when I came out with it, and I got it because I got it from my mother and father. And they got it from their mother and father. All the way back to a couple named Adam and Eve. They passed it on to us. So I don't need the devil to sin. The devil has a larger agenda, believe it or not. Now his agenda includes sin, but we make it like it's all about sin. Notice the devil didn't tempt Jesus to tell a lie, commit adultery, take drugs, alcohol. He said turn stones to bread. Why? What's wrong with that? Nothing, except he wants us to follow him and not God. That's right. It was the devil. See, first of all, the devil wants you to do what he tells you to do. Watch this. Watch this. Pay attention now. Whether it's sin or not. I need to repeat that. Sometimes the devil tells us to do something not wrong in itself, but you don't take your orders from him. You can be in church doing something you think is good, but if God didn't tell you to do it, you're out of line. I don't lie, I don't steal, but sometimes it's doing what the Lord didn't tell us to do. Second thing he said was tempt God. Jump off the temple. Be a wonder. Most people now want to be a wonder. Some kind of spiritual celebrity. The people will see you and go, ooh, ah, ooh. So the first thing he tried to get him to do was to operate outside of the will of God. Then he tried to get him to manipulate God for his own purposes. Much of religion today is designed to manipulate God for our purposes. Had he jumped off that temple and the angels caught it, about a little bit, ooh, ah, did you see that? You should have got what I just said. Did you see that? Jesus was a rather quiet man. Can you imagine today a quiet preacher? Some people get offended, but I cannot walk in church with 5 people following me. That's too much attention. I mean, I don't mind having a nurse, but I don't want you fawning over me and glorifying me. This is God's house. Now, you do what you can to take care of me, but don't laud. No, this is his house. We're not to carry on our agenda in the Lord's house. It's not about me, and it ain't about you. I mean, you know, I appreciate having some people around me, but we can't get out of hand. Where, you know, the pastor comes in and it's 18 people. and the only reason, because I loved him like a father. Deacon Milton used to carry my Bible because he loved me like a son. But you ain't carrying my Bible. This thing weighs 10 ounces. I was in a church not too long ago, and I smiled. I said, see, things get out of hand. The attendant to the pastor took the peppermint out the paper and put it in his mouth. First of all, I don't want no candy out of your hand. You put something in my mouth, I'm going to slap you. Now, if I get paralyzed and I can't move, put it down there, I'll pick it up like a bird. But if we're not careful, but what is the devil after? He wants to be worshiped. He wants to be the center of attention. He has his own agenda. Satan's thing is not so much sin. Satan looked at God and said, you know what? That's what I want. Baby, that's sin. Sin's actions are merely the result. Sin is, I don't want him to be God. That's sin, folks. I just gave you the definition of sin. And when we sin, basically, we're telling God, you don't make the rules, I do. So God tells me to tithe. I ain't tithing. You see, we allow ourselves to get caught up in the minutia of what we're doing. Get the big picture. God says, give me 10%. I ain't. You don't make the rules, I do. Now, I know I shouldn't be living with this woman not married, but you don't make the rules. God said a man for a woman, one for a man. No, no, no. I pick another. No, it's not the homosexuality. That ain't the issue. The issue is you don't make the rules. I do. That's what sin is. Sin is who's going to make the rules, who's going to be glorified, who's going to get the attention, who's going to be the boss, and we want to be the boss. Listen, I know me. I want to live the way I want to live. Now, I still want the blessing of the Lord, but I want to do it my way. And when the Lord tells me don't do this, well, why can't I do it? I feel it, you know. So if there's a line here, the Lord said don't cross it, but it feels good to cross it. Now, I want to cross that line, disobey God, and still have his blessing on my life. Anybody else like that? Now, I want his blessing now, but I sure want to do it what I want to do. In other words, I don't want him making the rules. That's what Satan is after. Satan wants this planet. He wants to rule it. And the other part of the tribulation is this. Not only does he want to rule the planet, but during the whole time, he's trying to rule the planet. You read Revelation 4 through 19, God is turning everything upside down. And he's trying to rule the planet, and the four horsemen are riding. Famine, pestilence, death. All this is happening. And lightnings and thunders and judgments and earthquakes. So the tribulation will be a chance for Satan to make his final attempt to rule the world, and God says it's not going to be. So this is really the final clash. Now the clash has been going on for years, but it's coming to a climactic head when these two finally go head up. Basically, what Satan's going to do is tell God, that's it. I've had enough of you. I'm taking over the planet. And God says, okay, take your best shot. Let's see if you can take over my planet. And this is the whole issue. Who's going to be in charge? Who's going to rule? And another sign appeared, a great and red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his head was 7 diadems or thrones or crowns or positions of authority. And his tail swept away 1/3 of the stars of heaven. Now this can mean 2 different things. It can mean when Satan brought down 1/3 of the angels to follow him, or it could refer to his manipulation of nations and kingdoms to follow him, and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she gave birth, watch this, he might do what? Devour her child. And she gave birth to a son, a male child. Now we're going to find out who the lady is and who the child is. Who is to be the what? Who is to what? Rule all the nations. Now, the lady is Israel. The child is Jesus. Why is he after the child? Because he's going to what? Exactly. I told you the only reason the devil is after you is because he knows your destiny. My God, yes. And he's trying to do what? Stop it. You remember what happened when Moses was born? When Moses was born, what was the law in Egypt? Kill all the boy children. Why? Because the devil knew what? A deliverer was about to be born. Kill all the boy children. When Herod found out the wise men had deceived him, what did he send to Bethlehem to do what? Kill all the boys under what? 2 years of age. See, don't get the night the Lord was born and mixed up with when the wise men appeared. The wise men didn't go to the stable. Only who went to the stable? The shepherds. By the time you get to Luke Luke gives the story of what happened at the stable. Matthew's story is really about 2 years later. When the star first appeared, see, if those men lived in Persia and they had to ride a camel, it took them maybe 12 months, 18 months to get to where they saw the star. So they came to Jerusalem, asked the people, where is he born, the King of the Jews? Herod said, I thought that was me. Then he lied and said, he called his theologians and said, where's the Messiah to be born? He knew it, didn't he? They said, in Bethlehem of Judea. So they told the wise men, go to Bethlehem. That lying deceiver said, now you find the child and let me know so I can go worship him. So by then, Joseph had gotten out of the stable, probably only stayed there 1 or 2 nights, found a house, living in a house, and the wise men came to the house and gave gold, frankincense, and myrrh. When they didn't go back to Herod, he knew he was deceived. He ordered the death of the children, meaning I must destroy him who will rule. The devil wants to destroy potential rulers. Let me tell you something. Get the big picture. The death of all these boys in our streets. The devil knows what he's after. Abortion is not about a woman's choice. Because I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-choice. If you want an abortion, go ahead and have one. But here's the other side of the choice. But you got to face God about your choice. I am not going to stand outside telling nobody what they cannot do. Go on and have the abortion, but you will answer to a holy God. You can. It's your choice to jump out of an 18-story building. But it ain't your choice what happens in the end. It is your choice to decide what you want to do. Stop telling people they don't have a choice. You do have a choice, but you're going to answer for the choice. Oh, I'm definitely pro-choice. Go and do what you want to do. But you're going to answer for it. Do you understand? See, I'm trying to help you to understand. See, here's the problem. The devil is trying to destroy seed. See, she has capacity, and I have capacity that if we get together, we can reproduce. Because I'm male, she's female, Lord have mercy. I have one set of equipment, she has another, that's designed to come together to produce offspring, Lord have mercy. But the two of us, he ain't got nothing, and I ain't got nothing. I don't care how much we get together. Now, we might get together because we love each other, but we got to manufacture a way to please each other. We got to think of something, because ain't nothing you got can please me, so we got to... I ain't got to find a way. That's all. That's set. She came here like that. But we got to manufacture a way. And quite frankly, bro, I ain't interested. But what Satan is after, he's not after whether or not Sean and I love each other. That ain't the point. We might love each other. We might be in love. He might be my boo. That ain't the issue. The issue is the image of God is distorted. The devil is after the image of God. It ain't whether or not we love each other. That ain't the point. It ain't whether or not I can give him an orgasm. That ain't the point. You give yourself one, tell you the truth. Come on, let's grow up. You give yourself one. Come on, don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. But it's the image of God, because he made male and female in his image. As a matter of fact, it says it. I wish you'd grow up and let me teach you. The closest act to God beside worship is sex. Didn't you know that? The closest act to God, because the only time the image of God comes together in intimacy, able to create something, the only thing a man can create is another human being. Anything else man does, he has to invent it. But if two of the same sex get together, they're just having a good time. Y'all ain't ready for this. Because you sure can't produce nothing. You can do it till you're satisfied. But I'm pregnant, not by me, you ain't. Sean can't get me pregnant. I don't care how much whatever he gonna do. I'm telling you, we beat up on people. Stop beating up on people. I ain't mad at no gay person. I'm trying to tell you, it's the reason the NRA won't stop them guns is because Satan said, I want this. Just in case there's another Martin Luther King, Just in case there's another Malcolm X. Just in case there's another Sojourner Truth. Just in case there's another. So I'll get men together with women and I'll see what's happening in the world, really, y'all. Let me tell you what they're really trying to do in Washington and everywhere else. Let me tell you, get the big picture. They're really trying to kill people. Why do you think there's such a fight over health care? You don't get it, do you? The devil wants to kill people. All these people dying in the streets, and the NRA has got your legislators so scared they won't even ban assault weapons. Okay, I am for the Second Amendment. I believe you should have a gun, yada, yada, yada. I'm not against that. But why do you need an assault weapon? Do you know that the right person come in that with an assault weapon can get all of us in a matter of seconds? I don't know how many people in here, but if you got the right clip, most of us would be on TV tonight. That's right. Now, preacher gets shot in the pulpit. I got nothing to do with that. Now, don't get into that. That's one shot, one man. He didn't go in there to shoot everybody. He went there to shoot the preacher. And I don't know why, but that ain't my business. You mind your own business. But anyway, I'm talking about so when the devil sees bodies and bodies and bodies, and whether they're through abortion or lack of productivity, he says, I'm going to keep on until I destroy the seed. That's what it's right. Because one of those seeds just might be. So the devil went after the woman, Israel, because her seed will rule the world. So I got to stop him. The devil didn't want you to get in church. No, should have got in church. Well, you fool around and got in the church. Well, don't study the Bible. Don't pray. And then he tries to so frustrate you. What is the biggest temptation that people have when they get in church? Listen to me. The biggest temptation people have when they get in church is to leave. Did you know that? They get tired. They get disgusted. They get hurt. They get mad. Now, the first temptation on your job is never to leave. People allowing you in your job. I ain't going nowhere. This is my job. Yeah. Bishop. First temptation is not first time your husband fall out. I ain't going nowhere. It's my husband. But the first thing the devil tells you is get your leave. Why? Why? Y'all get the big picture. Get away from the word. The devil wants you isolated out there by yourself so he can destroy. Oh, we don't get it. We don't get it. Whenever I get discouraged, get me to church. And sometimes if somebody getting on my nerve, I close my eye and worship the Lord with my eyes closed. I ain't leaving the church. If I got to turn my head, I need his strength. I need his power. I need his blessing. Look, somebody tell her, I love you, but forget you. You ain't going to steal my blessing. I need something from God. I need so many blessings from God. You can act a fool if you want to, but I was glad when they said unto me, let us go to the house of the Lord. The first thing the devil try to get you to do is not read your Bible. Watch a movie all night, read the Bible. I sure am sleepy. You know why I don't pray on my knees a lot? Because I ain't going to sleep down there. I've been on my knees. Now I lay me down to sleep. Bless mama, bless dad. And woke up saying, do Lord, do Lord. What the what? I can watch a 3.5-hour Malcolm X movie. Don't close my eyes. Sometimes I can sit up and just watch TV all night long. But if I try to read the Bible at 8 o'clock, the Lord is my... Because the devil knows ain't no power in Malcolm X. It's power up in here. He went after the seed. Oh my God. And that's why he's after you. Who is to rule the nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared by God so that she might be nourished for 1,260 days, 3.5 years, which means God is going to protect Israel during the time of the tribulation. Chapter 13. Now, everything we read in Daniel, and it's going to begin to come clear. And he stood on the sand of the seashore. This is the beast. All right? And I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, having what? Coming up, verse 1. Coming up out of the sea, having what? And on his horns were 10 crowns, and his heads were. Now, this is the same beast that Daniel saw. This beast is the Antichrist. Let's go further. And the beast which I saw, now pay attention, was like a leopard, and his feet were like those of a bear, and his mouth like a lion. And the dragon, watch this. Now, okay, now see, I told you before that those beasts that you saw, this is an amalgam. This, remember when Daniel saw that fourth beast, he said he's unlike all the others. This creature here is unlike others. Now pay attention to the terminology here. The beast, that's the kingdoms that shall rise, with the Antichrist being the head. Now pay attention. Here's the language. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and his great authority. The dragon is Satan. The beast is the Antichrist. That's the first creature. The dragon is the devil. Okay? That's his description in Revelation. Let's go further. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been slain, and his fatal wound was healed. And the whole earth was amazed and followed after the beast. During the beast's reign, he's going to be assassinated. He's going to be shot, probably shot. He's going to fall, and they're going to probably say he's dead. And they're going to take him to the hospital. He's going to walk out and say, I'm all right. People are going to go, oh my God, did you see that? When you see those horrible pictures of JFK with his head blown off, there were people who actually thought when his casket lay in state in the rotunda of the Capitol, that that casket was going to open and Mr. Kennedy was going to sit up, and that would have been the fulfillment of this prophecy. See, they've tried to make everybody the Antichrist, from Napoleon to Adolf Hitler to FDR to JFK to Bill Clinton to Ronald Reagan to Barack Obama. Now, the Antichrist could not be Bill Clinton. No, I'm serious, because the Bible says he has no love for women. Right. That's how I know I'm not him either. It ain't me. I'm safe and secure from all alarm. Okay, y'all, that ain't funny. I don't know why y'all laughing. But, so, with a bullet wound like that, he's going to come back, but he's getting his power. Remember, the Antichrist is the same thing in the flesh that Jesus is. Jesus is God in the flesh. The Antichrist is Satan in the flesh. He is the embodiment. He is the incarnation. He gets his power and authority directly from the devil or the dragon. You still with me? And they worship the dragon. Now, watch this now. Not the beast, but the dragon, which is what he wants, right? Because he gave authority to the beast. Then they worship the beast, saying, who is like the beast? Who is able to wage war with him? In other words, if he can take a shot like that and come back. So people worship the dragon or the devil because he gave him his authority, and they now worship the Antichrist. So the first beast is the Antichrist. The dragon is the devil, and we see the interplay between them. Let's go on. And there was given to him a mouth speaking arrogant words and blasphemies. Y'all remember that? I told you that Daniel said he was going to be speaking blasphemous words, and authority to act in 42 months, the 3.5 years. And he opened his mouth in blasphemies against God, to blaspheme the name of his tabernacle, and that is those who dwell in heaven. And it was given him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation. He took over the whole world. And all who dwell on the earth, and all who dwell on the earth will worship him. Everyone whose name has not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who has been slain. In other words, the only people who won't worship him are the saints of God. They will not worship him. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is destined for captivity, to captivity he goes. If anyone kills with the sword he must be killed. Here is the perseverance and the faith of the saints. In other words, there are those who are just going to go headlong into destruction or kill and be killed. But the saints, although he makes war with them, they will not bow to him. They will not submit to him. He's going to blaspheme the temple, blaspheme the name of God. He's going to take over the world. But the saints will remain true and loyal to Christ and the God of their salvation. Verse 11, and I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. He had horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon. All right, now we have one beast, one dragon, and we have another beast. Okay, who is that third creature?